Five-stripe final, JSam Jones from the Mothership and Dirty South Soccer sometimes. Joe Patrick from 90.9 The Game and Dirty South Soccer most of the time is right over there. Hey.
Well. If
How
it
you
isn't
doing?
the consequences of our own actions.
Again, for some reason, we keep choosing to do this. You're welcome. First off, we've been way more consistent with this. And yeah, we're doing a good job. I think you're doing a good job, and we're glad you're here. Joe, what are we talking about today?
Oh man, we got a lot going on. We got
No, wrong. The real answer, actually, Josef is bad.
Oh yes.
I don't know if you know this, but the people in Orlando have emerged like cicadas from the ground.
The brood that comes out every so often.
To say that no, it is the people who are wrong. Josef actually is bad.
Are we going to go into this tweet now, or are we going to save it till later? Because
I'm still laughing at it. Honestly, I don't know if I have anything else in my mind.
I just noticed that tweet was sent at like 3 something in the morning.
Oh, to be fair, that dude's from England.
Oh, okay. There you go. I guess that makes more sense.
So it was like 9 there. But like any time in the morning where you're like, man, I should tweet that Josef is bad. That is purely an afternoon activity. You idiots. Get it together. We'll talk about that later because it made us laugh. But there are other things to kind of get to. First off, we wanted to remind you guys that we do have a Patreon up and running at full force, kind of a more force than we even really expected. Yeah. There's too much stuff right now. We have things actually on back order, and we even have bigger things coming up. You guys should go check that out. Check out our interview with Jackson Conway, the Atlanta United homegrown player. He was excellent. Really, really fun guy for a 19-year-old learning to deal with the media. You know, it's hard to do. It's hard to answer questions openly and candidly. You did a great job with that. Also got interviews with folks like George Campbell, new Atlanta United center back signing, Alex DeJohn as well, and more. So much more. There are already I think we're nearing 75 of y'all already, and it's been like a week. It's incredible.
Yeah, crazy. By the way, that we're gonna put an episode together with Campbell and DeJohn. I'm gonna mess that up so many times.
Dijon.
He said he's like, yeah, call me. People have called him Dijon, like Dijon mustard. That episode will go out to all patrons. Normally we do the dailies only go out to our $10 tier, but we're gonna put this one out for everybody because it's not really like a daily. I don't know if they're going to be doing any media this week. Maybe they will toward the end of the week, but these last couple days they've been doing it's like been media day for the players, so they put them through the whole car wash of filming their little walk-ups and things and gifts so that they can post throughout the year.
Tired.
Yeah. And then they end the day by letting them do some media, which is I'm sure is exactly what they want to be doing. So, but no, I really appreciate the team setting that up and for Absolutely. The players talking to us. So look out for that later this week.
And then we have, can we go ahead and announce who we have on Thursday?
Well, I was going to put that one out on Thursday and then save, but you can announce for next week what we're going to be. I had told you.
Oh God, I don't know.
We're doing our planning right now. Ryan Cadney's will be going out next week.
Excellent. Ryan, the former social media manager for Atlanta United, among other things. Wonderful, wonderful human. He might be listening. Who knows? Ryan, we love you. All right. Well, that's out of the way. Might as well move on. Slowly, but surely, moving, creeping, inching towards getting to this thing we call business time. Business time, Joe Patrick. A few things to kind of note, and I don't know what we really want to start with, but I think we should mention maybe first off that Josef Martinez spoke to media for the first time on Friday. Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun. It was just good to see him back. I think he was also enjoying it. I think he was happy to just be in the mix again. He doesn't love doing media all the time, but I think this was one of those days where it was just kind of another step back for him in terms of stepping back into his normal routine. And I know he looked very happy to see Doug ever present at the media sessions. He was just talking about all kinds of things. He was talking about his dogs that he's got. I guess he's doing some breeding of some sort.
I have no idea, but he said he has 9 puppies. And then he said in English, and I quote, "Piss and shit everywhere," which needs to be on a shirt.
And he's doing more English responses, so that's always fun to hear. And yeah, just good to see him growing a man bun.
Yeah, we've had some questions about that as well. I'm not sure if that increases his powers along with the belly, but we'll have to see. No, he seemed like he was in a Josef mood. You know, he even said up at the top, "I'm not happy, but I'm glad to be here," I think is what he said. You know, I'm sure something upset him that day at training. Maybe he missed one shot out of like 45 and he was furious the rest of the day. It kind of seems like him. It's funny how much he acknowledges his anger issues. I'm not sure if that's like something he's had to work through. But even still, he said things like, you know, he couldn't watch games when he was out because it made him either mad or upset. And he doesn't like to be mad, he said. And they just kind of over and over again, he just proves how much he cares more than you, which is why everyone loves him, right? Overall, though, he seemed to be in a pretty good mood about his fitness. He said there's still work to do. He said he's still kind of learning to trust his knee, which I thought was an interesting way of putting it, and makes a lot of sense when you think about it. You have to kind of learn what you're capable of at this point. And there's some fear there. There's just going to be an inherent fear to tweaking something again. So he's learning how to do that. He said he's maybe avoiding a couple of tackles here and there. He's already been hurt once before in training by a tackle. And I remember being at the training ground that day and everyone was like in a really like secretive hush mood. And we're like, what happened? And someone finally came over and said, yeah, he like ran into Leandro and broke his thumb or something like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So I think he said at one point, I don't want to get hurt in training again.
Yeah, he was saying that he was like pulling out of tackles and things like that to try to preserve himself where he may not have in the past. Probably good as for a player who's, you know, not in the late stages of his career, but kind of approaching that mid-career, you know, not to go too crazy in training. I thought the one like most pertinent thing that he said was, and I think he was talking about this in Spanish, so I'm maybe not getting the whole thing, but he talked about having multiple surgeries on that knee. I guess he had an infection perhaps or something like that. I'm not sure exactly the details, but maybe a little bit longer of a recovery time for Josef Martinez than what we're seeing from other players around the league who seem to be recovering from ACLs. Like, seems like with an ACL, if that first surgery goes really well and there are no issues, then you can come back really, really soon. Blanco is back in like 6 months. But Josef, it seems like there's been a little bit more hiccups, but, you know, it was just a tough year to have to do something like that. So maybe a little bit expected, and maybe it impacts his minutes early in the season.
Yeah, no, Felipe Cardenas did the translation there and said he's had up to 5 surgical procedures on his injured knee. The more surgeries, the worse. That's not great news at all. He said he had a lot of scar tissue that first surgery, had an infection, which required additional intervention. It was the same surgeon who operated on Zlatan, though, which is encouraging because everyone kind of remarks how quickly Zlatan was able to heal. So hopefully Josef has that same level of strength and everything like that. However, I will note that Zlatan is notoriously rigid in his mobility, exercises and diet, etc. Josef, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much. But again, not sure it matters. Not sure it matters because he's Josef, and this is just kind of how he rolls, and that's okay. And that's okay. He may burn out at like 29, but that's okay. Who has it? Who among us?
Clearly. The other thing is that, you know, he was already trolling Orlando. It was like when one of the first things he said, he was already taking the piss. So that's always good to see. And you just love how much he leans
Daddy's home.
You just love how much he leans into the entertainment aspect. Ryan Kenney's out to kind of hint at his interview, or the interview we did with him. He kind of talks about that with Josef, how he just kind of embraces all of that, the entertainment aspect of soccer. And it's always great to see. It's like he's like cutting a promo, essentially.
Exactly. He knows exactly where the camera is at all times, which is delightful. We love it. It's also delightful to see him back and moving in somewhat real speed. Atlanta United does play a preseason friendly with Tormenta FC. The final score in that one, 3-0. Looks like Tyler Wolff, Jake Mulroney, and Cubo all scored in that one. But some highlights of Josef coming in as well, which I think like the Orlando folks have latched on to some random ass report quotation marks from the game that Josef didn't look like himself. And they're like, yep, he's done, finished. Bad, actually has been bad. So again, it's a preseason friendly, not a ton to take from that. Understand that I'm not sure if I can say this. We can edit it out if we decide I can't say this. Miles Robinson and George Campbell were the primary center back pairing.
Yeah, I think you can see that in the video that they put out that those two were playing together.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. And which may not matter at all, right, Joe Patrick? Because it seems like another center back is on his way.
I mean, oh yeah, for sure. I do want to say, even before that, though, I wouldn't put much stock into like who is starting in these games, especially at center back. I feel like you very well could want to have Anton Walkes playing as like the more senior member with whoever, what other center back he would have been playing alongside in the second half of that game, instead of it being like George Campbell and some random warm body. Maybe Alex John. I guess he would have been participating in that scrimmage.
Yeah, I guess we do need to mention that Alex John does come in. He has played 12 MLS games. They're all with Orlando. We got to talk to him the other day. Seemed like a very positive and chill dude who kind of is just happy to be here. And I think he probably have a very similar role to the one he had in Orlando, all things considered.
Yeah, and something that he revealed, which we didn't know, or at least I didn't know before we talked to him, is that he said he's been training with the team for like 3 weeks now. So he's basically been part of this training camp since the get-go. But yeah, check that out. Check out that interview when we release it for more details as to why and how. But on to the other center back. That's kind of the big news around the team right now. Is it looks like Alan Franco, the transfer is really set to happen. Barring
come on now. Why
I mean, that's what it feels like. But he's obviously got to pass the dreaded medical. But it seems like, just judging by the way that his manager Julio Falcioni was speaking after the game last night, was that he was like, yeah, I mean, I don't want him to go. It sucks because now I have all these kids I got to replace them with because they can't go out in the transfer market and get a new center back. But and he was like, I would escort him to the plane in June if he would just wait. But
I mean, the fact that it's not the transfer window is so interesting to me. That they felt that they were good enough the deal is good enough for them to go ahead and act on it, which is kind of crazy to think about.
And that's always been kind of the pessimism as to if they would get another center back now at this point, is because a situation just like Independiente is about to face if they do lose Franco, is that they won't be able to replace. So will be interesting. I wonder if Atlanta United had to sweeten the deal for them a little bit. The interesting part of the actual finances of the deal is that it's for reported 2.8 million, which we pretty much knew. Lautaro Giannetti's was for about 3 million reportedly, but this one's only for 50% of the fee. So that's like 50% of the sell-on value that you would get in the next sale. Giannetti's was 100%, of course. We talked about that in the last show. So 50% is a huge chunk. And that basically signals to me that the team is not really going to make a substantial profit whenever or if they do sell Alan Franco in the future, assuming that he comes to Atlanta. But I think that it's probably worth it because it just makes you better right now. And it's like, okay, well, we'll just bite the bullet and not take really much of a profit on him after we sell him on. But at least while he's here, he'll make the team better. So
exactly, they're biting the bullet on that, but it's not like they're really decreasing in quality. He seems to be a pretty decent passer. He's not going to maybe dribble out as much as the other guys apparently, but seems to be a quality defender. Seems to me maybe the best defender of the bunch that's come in or reportedly tried to come in so far this offseason, so honestly, it's a plus, right?
Well, yeah, I think so. And I think so. This is a really interesting conversation to have. I think a lot of people are interested in the fact that he's not known as being, like you say, this guy who's going to really be great on the ball, spraying passes, hitting long diagonals, those beautiful raking diagonals that can switch the play and things like that. But I put it out there yesterday. I put a tweet out there and I retweeted myself from 2019, a game again that Atlanta United played against Toronto, in which, I remember clipping up that game because I thought Miles Robinson was excellent. And I think that it really shows that Miles Robinson is capable of a lot more on the ball than I think a lot of people have kind of pigeonholed him as. And I the reason I kind of went looking for was because something that you posted in our Slack the other day, which was you finding that FB ref that visual of his passing numbers, and they're not that bad.
Really good, actually.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't, and people are right that he does not do a lot of those long passes. But he's very good at dribbling the ball forward, and what was the term that Frank said? Provoking the defense and then finding the open man, like literally, and that's like kind of something that Michael Parker's did really, really well, which is kind of just take those touches, and then just invite the opposition to start their press, like kind of to start in motion against you. And then once that starts, you can find the open man and start an attack. So that's the kind of way that I see Miles Robinson on the ball. And I think the other angle to this is kind of me just galaxy braining the situation, but I do almost feel like Alan Franco could be the Miles Robinson quote unquote replacement. If they do get rid of Miles Robinson after this year, then you still have that kind of Miles Robinson type defender first kind of player, and then you can go out and get another ball playing center back if you feel like that's something you need down the road.
I will say that it is good news that Total Football seems to like this guy more than Giannetti. There you go.
Really?
There's your Total Football endorsement, at least from a statistical standpoint. So that's encouraging. It's all encouraging, honestly.
So
just get it done, please.
I mentioned Franco in the center back scouting, the Football Manager scouting.
You did. Congrats.
But the reason he popped up, but I'll never forget seeing him play when I was watching those Independiente games when Barco was on the team. We were all just kind of like watching those last couple of games of their Sudamericana run. And I remember Franco standing out as like, wow, this guy is like one of the best players on the field. And at that time, he was only like 19 or 20 years old. And it's not easy to look that way when you're playing at center back. It's not easy to look like the best player on the field, but I just remember him looking like just winning his challenges, very aggressive, tenacious. And of course, that's what people are kind of, seeing now when they see the film. They're seeing that SEC speed, right? He's like that defensive end, that's the thing about the SEC speed. It's not necessarily about the receivers. It's those the big guys who are still fast as hell, So that's Alan Franco to me.
I love to see it. We love to see it. No, it's all good. It's all encouraging. And again, just the big thing right now is everyone is wondering exactly how this is going to collapse at the last second. It seems to be on track, but
way too many people asking that question. Yeah.
Damn, y'all, we have like 2 things go wrong this whole off season, and y'all are like, man, this sucks. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. I think we were gonna be fine either way, but adding this in, getting this in early, it's just a little added bonus. Seems good. We should be fine. And we should be fine still, even after we take a quick break. Wow, what a break. What a moment in history. What a beautiful time to be alive and just sit there and listen to an ad on a podcast. What a great
I saw somebody on Twitter the other day bring up a good point, which is that podcast ads work because if you try to skip them, you're risking death typically when you're like driving in your car or something, listening to the show. So so you gotta listen to that MeUndies ad.
I take that challenge every day. I'm still here. I'm 25. I can't die. Let's be real.
That's right.
So we're going to get to the listener questions. Y'all had plenty of them. As always, we love you. Of course, the folks in the Discord get direct access to us. They can ask questions anytime they want, really. But these are the ones we chose for the show. First one's going to come from Serenity DNB. Ask, what are the upsides and downsides of bringing in Alan Franco? And I'm not sure there's really a downside besides maybe, Joe, you talked about it only being 50% of the pass. So that maybe is it.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, that's a downside. Maybe you would say it's a downside, the fact that he hasn't been able to be with the team for the whole training camp. But of course, anybody you bring in, that would be the case for anybody at this point. I'm trying to think of other downsides. Again, maybe he's not the passer that people would have wanted, that really like kind of elegant type of passer, but I still feel like that is kind of secondary in importance to what this team will look like under Heinze, which is just like an aggressive pressing team. Like that's what we've talked about with players who we've spoken with over these last couple of weeks that the team has made available to us, is just like how aggressive it is. I think Jackson Conway may have spoke about that when we talked to him on the Patreon episode, just talking about the press. And, I know that Gabriel Heinze hates the Bielsa comparisons, but, Jackson Conway said that it's like very Bielsa style and just in terms of that high energy. And so I think that Alan Franco fits that really well.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be a downside. It's not going to be a bad thing. Again, y'all need to lighten up. God damn it!
It really helps to have a center back that's fast, like Franco, who's got the recovery speed to be able to race back. Because when Atlanta United is going to be pressing teams are going to try to counter that with those long balls over the top when the line is pressed up really high. So it's nice to have both Franco and Miles Robinson are super, super fast. Probably some of the faster center backs in the league that can chase those balls down and just defend, so
that's one of the things that kind of popped up a lot on any kind of scouting report of the Gabriel Heinze team, is that if you hit quickly over the top, especially down the middle, because the center backs are so spread out in possession, it can be tough to recover. So having speedy guys like that, and we mentioned that as soon as Heinze came in, that Miles was going to succeed. And if Franco is that same level of SEC speed, like you're saying, Joe, you're right. That's a benefit. And I think people need to keep in mind too, something to consider here is that Franco is probably a better player in general than Giannetti. I think that's the indication I'm getting from all the statistical folks, from people who have had some scouting access and things like that. What the benefit of Giannetti was to get a guy in who already knew the system and could direct others. Short term, great. Long term, this might be a plus for Atlanta United, is my thinking.
I think so too. And if you look at just the finances of the deal, this is a more expensive deal than the Giannetti deal was. It's like, 2.8 for 50%. That is what, a $5.5 million deal, something like that, if you extrapolate that 50% out. So yeah, I mean, I also wrote in that post, that Football Manager post on Dirty Sauce Soccer, that I thought he was just the best player at right now of any of those players in that post. Again, a lot of them are younger guys. That's kind of the profile we were looking at there, but yeah, should be a great defender. And hopefully he just has that little bit of added experience at 24 years old where he could slot in and be confident and really kind of take the reins as that starting center back here when he comes in.
Well, it does kind of put a stopgap in front of George Campbell. I know some folks were excited about maybe seeing him getting a few more first team minutes this year, and I think he still will. But it leads us into our next question from ATL Greg, who asked, besides Conway, who, if any of the twos, could you see contributing to the first team this year? Who are some of the top guys there that you think are ready to take the next step? And George was one of those guys, and George still may be that kind of guy who comes in and does really, really well when he can. And then, if he shows out enough, Miles leaves, you have a guy right there to take over. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good question. I don't know if there's a great answer. I mean, honestly, like none of the twos players, and by twos players,
of course, there were like none last year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, technically, George Campbell isn't even a twos player. He's a first team player that would play with the twos, but I understand the point of the question. It's tough because it's just going to be tough for any of those players to break through. But Ben Lundgaard is a guy who got his promotion. He's on a first team contract now, goalkeeper, was really impressive last year. I thought in goal. He was really hard done by his defenders at times that were making terrible mistakes late in games. That really was not his fault. Solid looking goalkeeper. And Jack Gurr is another guy who's kind of more experienced. I think he's from Newcastle. I know he's a Newcastle fan, but he's a right back. It's a position that perhaps Atlanta United could need some help throughout the course of the season, but he's not on a first team contract. So I don't know, maybe this year would be asking too much, but he was involved in that Club America game in the CONCACAF Champions League that happened in December. He was called up for that game. So he's clearly one who's kind of catching the eye, and he's got a really nice service from that right side.
Conway, a homegrown, Campbell, a homegrown as well, which leads us to our next question from Heathwood. And Joe, I'm going to let you start this one off because I'm a generous person. Can y'all explain?
No.
No. Can y'all explain the pros and cons of handing out homegrown contracts? As far as I can tell, our USL team is mostly youth. Some of them are homegrown, others not. What does it actually mean? what does it actually
What
mean?
does it mean?
What does it? This is something, and I said this in the Discord. It's something like when you cram for a Spanish test in high school, you know, you memorize like the 5 words for that hour and that hour alone. That's what I do with homegrown stuff. Anytime I have to like write a thing about homegrowns or say anything about homegrown, I'll look it up, remember it for the next 30 minutes, and forget it all immediately, because it's usually irrelevant by the time I've written the piece anyway, because they change it so damn much.
Yeah. What I like to do, like on tests that give you short answers instead of multiple choice or something like that, and you clearly don't know the answer, is to just like turn the question on its head and like question the question and without actually answering what the hell a homegrown is. No. So, I mean, the reason you would make somebody a homegrown is that they then take up a supplemental spot on the roster. So that's like essentially a free spot on the roster. It does not count against the salary budget. So that's kind of the primary reason you would do it. Also, I think that you still get 100% of any sale of that player. I could be wrong there because they seem to change this from time to time, but it does seem, regardless, that there's definitely more value in what you receive for a fee if you do have a homegrown player that's good enough to, you know, demand one. So those are 2 reasons. As to like, I don't think that it matters at all for a homegrown to be playing with the 2s on the USL side, other than the fact that you know that anybody who's on a homegrown deal is probably going to, you know, the club is going to want to give them more exposure, more playing time at that level, since they are tied into the first team at that point.
Yeah, essentially what it is the value piece. If you hit on it, you've done a really, really impressive thing, and you've done a really, really valuable thing for your team. For example, you know, you look at someone like Jordan Morris, finding that homegrown value initially, his first 3 years, you know, before he launched up in contract status, which is what happens if you go past a certain threshold with your contract. You were not on that supplemental spot anymore, but you can still get the whole 100% of the transfer thing and everything like that. But you know, for those first 2 years, you get a ton of value out of that, right?
Yeah.
Especially, and then of course, obviously, it's good PR, everything like that. Who doesn't love, you know, some kid from not Powder Springs? That's the first thought I had. No. Oops. Crap. Some Brazelton. Who's from Brazelton?
I don't know.
No one.
I was just thinking.
Where did George go to high school? Hold on, we know this, right?
George is from Douglasville, I think.
Douglasville. Okay, yeah, cool, perfect. See, Douglasville. Much better. We love you, George.
As for like who is eligible to be a homegrown, I really don't know, because a guy like George Campbell can be a homegrown, even though he played most of his youth career in the Philadelphia area. His parents moved down here and he joined the academy. And I don't know if you need to be in the academy for like a year or something before you're eligible to sign that deal. But yeah, just pointing out things that I don't know the answer to.
Which is a lot. Again, they're making this up. We're making this up. Everyone's making this up. It's all fake. It
doesn't even matter, because the rules will all be changed in a couple years anyway. So
exactly. Don't worry about it, guys. It's like, again, I've mentioned this before. It's like following like the recruiting status of a guy who's like, oh, he's narrowing it down to 15 teams today. Look out! Don't do it. Go read a book. Go learn an instrument. Please do anything else. It'll come up when it comes up. Okay, cool. It was a fair question though. Like, I don't mean to be dismissive of it. We just get so irked by those things. Thank you for that, Heathwood. I'm all aggressive now. Tony asked, any updates on if, when, how many fans can attend games? As of right now, no. Right?
Yeah, I don't know why I actually included this question on the show sheet, because I don't know the answer to it.
Well, I read it, so
yeah. I will say the Braves announced that they are opening up SunTrust or Truist Park for the opening day at 33% capacity. So maybe that gives you some sort of ballpark as to what to expect. But yeah, I mean, I would expect this news pretty soon, because they have not sent out like season tickets or done a lot of that communication yet with season ticket holders, as far as I can tell. I am a season ticket holder. I can't remember getting an email about it. So yeah, I mean, stay tuned, I guess. But I would imagine around that 33% mark. Yeah,
and what I've been noticing too is the place has been doing like 50% of what you can keep socially distant, right?
Okay.
So it might be something very, very similar to that, where it's 33% of what you can keep socially distanced and everything like that. So we'll see. Just be patient. We're almost there, guys.
And I would expect it to actually expand quite rapidly, that percentage, because
let's do a fun thing that I like to play in my head sometimes, even though I'm not a medical professional. and have no real understanding of how viruses technically work or anything like that, and or vaccines. This is a big disclaimer just to say, when do you think we have full capacity?
Uh, yeah, I'll say, the Braves announced that they are planning for full capacity for the All-Star game this summer, which is like
July, right?
mid-July. So yeah, I mean, I'd say July 1st or July 4th. Why not? That seems like a.
The president did say something about like July 4th. You can
that's
like
right.
hang out with your family,
Yeah.
My thing here is that like by May, everyone will be able to get a vaccine who wants one at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are on some really shitty part of the internet that's telling you not to do that and you don't do that, that's your choice at that point.
Yeah.
Everyone come on in.
Well, yeah. So I think that there's a big difference between if the stadium is open for full capacity, like if they're inviting full capacity, and whether that full capacity will actually come. I think that there will be some sort of dip in the demand just from certain people are naturally just going to still have that kind of fear in them. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe the demand.
Camp,
what's that?
I'm in the opposite camp, honestly. I think people are just so itching to get there. I think
that's how I feel personally as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm projecting.
That's how I feel personally, but I just. Yeah, I think it seems to me like there will be some people who don't want to go, which is fine. I mean, if they don't want to go, but I think the thing is that once the teams start opening up and it's clearly not like a vector of creating, a chaotic situation, then it's just like people will just exercise their own personal risk, thresholds. So if you want to take the risk, if you even feel like it's a risk at all, then you do or you don't go.
That was another segment of Sam and Joe Guess Wildly.
About public health measures.
About public health measures. But it's fun to talk about it because it's so, I feel optimistic, and I hope you do too at this point.
Yeah, the numbers are looking great.
Yeah, absolutely. Go get your vaccine. All right, moving on. Todd Anderson asked with a new Todd. With a new coach and an overhauled roster, what are realistic expectations and or predictions for the first CCL tie against Alajuelense? Which, first off, tough draw.
Tough place to go.
Tough place to go. Tough place to be. Yeah, tough. It's going to be tough. Really tough. They're a good team. People don't know about Brian Ruiz. It's going to be tough. Look, I don't mean to dunk on Todd there because his question is good. It's just,
We get the question like every week, pretty much. The reason I put it in because I did have a new thought, a new little light bulb popped into my head when I read this one, actually, which is that I do feel like Alajuelense is they're doing very well in their league, whatever league that is that they play in. And no, but I think that so teams probably sit off of them a little bit more. They control the game a little bit more, and they're going to have to play a very different style against a team that's a lot more talented than the competition that they play against. So that will be interesting to see how they deal with that. Maybe it makes them make more mistakes or something. I don't know. Personally, honestly, I'm actually my expectations for Atlanta have really fallen off. I would not even be surprised if they get knocked out by Alajuelense.
Okay, so that's what I think the question is actually. The heart of the question is, it's not so much, is this a tough draw? Yes, right? It is, what is the expectations? What are the realistic expectations for Atlanta as a team? And I think you should, frankly, expect a team with the clout and the capital of Atlanta to beat Alajuelense, right? That is a realistic expectation. However, you should not be surprised if it does not happen.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
That is your expectation level for this team. Looking forward, going throughout the year, you should absolutely expect this team to be in the playoffs. If they are not in the playoffs, something has gone wrong. But again, if there are some clunks at the beginning, if there are some missteps, if there are a couple of games, like Joe said a while back, there are a couple of games where we are posting Troll 2 clips at halftime because it's 5-0 and Chicago is scoring on you, of all teams. It may happen a couple of times. It may just be very chaotic. It's going to be a lot like 2017, which was a blast. So just keep that in mind. And I think you'll have a lot of fun with this team.
Yeah, should be a fun season.
I think so, especially because Josef apparently has a man bun now. We had a question about that from Joel Betts. What is up with that little ponytail thing Josef has going in pictures from the scrimmage? I don't know. He's just doing him. One time I asked him why he dyed his hair a certain color, and he's broke in English and said, "Man, I don't know." So there we go. That's the first time Joseph ever spoke English to me, I think. It was just to tell me, yeah, I'm an idiot for even asking a dumb question like that. But Joel did have another question. He asked, will Franco have a complex because he was third choice for who to bring in at center back? You know, like that girl you went to prom with because the first two girls turned you down and she made you miserable the whole night. Oh, that was just me. Never mind. Prayers, Joel. Prayers. No, he won't be worried about that. You know, even if it was like a third choice thing, he'll be a professional. He'll come in, and these are people forget just how absurdly competitive these guys are. You know, I think people are dismissive sometimes, even because it's like MLS level, you know, but they're going to come in and bust their ass. It's just how it works, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's choosing to come here. So,
exactly right. Like he's not going to be like
he wants to come
about it. Yeah, he's not going to be Paul Rudd picking up the dishes in Wet Hot American Summer about it, right? Like he's going to do it full heartedly.
For sure.
Which leads us to our final couple of questions here, and I'll group these together. The first one comes from Will. The second one comes from Unite, Chop, Rise. And we'll just take Will's phrasing of it. Is Josef any good? I just don't know since Orlando signed Pato. I don't know. I've heard that Josef is bad. I've heard that from people.
Using Pato as some sort of like
barometer of success.
Yeah. Like I don't know if you remember this, but when the news came across the wire they were going to sign him, I was shocked that he still played. Like I thought he was retired for sure. He's like one of those players who had like a very legendary like 3-year period
when he was like 18.
Yeah, when he was really young back in the early 2010s, and then just kind of fell off the map. I think he had some
lots of
relations with Maradona's daughter,
something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So one of those.
It's a fascinating Wikipedia page. You know, it's a bad thing though when you go to like your Wikipedia page and there's just a big section that just says injuries.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's Pato. And the guy's argument for Josef actually being bad is that he was coming off an injury, but he's like, no, Pato, good.
Yeah.
Nailed it. He didn't even pick the best player on his own damn team, which is Chris Mueller, the money badger.
True.
Come on. More output than Nani. Definitely going to have more output.
Do you know if DK is going to be back with Orlando by that game?
Do I know?
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't have any inside info on DK's potential move to what looks like a Big Six team.
I don't even know what his loan, like what the terms of his loan are. Like if he
will be back at the end of Barnsley's
at the end of Barnes. Okay.
So
they probably still have a ways to go then.
It's a little bit of ways. He will not be back for that first game.
Yeah.
Okay. So it'll either be Pato or Tesho Akindele starting up top for Orlando. Of course, you still have the very dangerous Mueller on the wings with Nani on the wings. They're still going to be really, really damn good. It's going to be a heck of a game. And I mentioned this today, that the fact that both teams are actually good now is going to cause the MLS Twitterverse to just like cave in on itself like a black hole and explode. You know, just full supernova. It's going to be a disaster. It's going to
be awesome though.
It's going to be awesome. I'm going to barricade myself in a little bit, just crank those notifications off, lob some grenades and duck, you know, it's going to be awesome. Going to be awesome. I've already enjoyed today so much with Josef is actually bad, you know, so looking forward to it for sure. But I would not expect DK to be back.
Okay. That's good.
In any capacity.
I don't want
to
have to deal with DK.
No one does.
Whatsoever.
No one does, which is why Big Six teams are paying so much attention to him.
Yeah. But yeah, they turned down like a $10 million offer.
$10 million offer
from Barnsley?
From a Big Six team.
Oh, from a Big Six team.
Yeah. Which honestly, like, good for you, Orlando. Know your worth. He's worth 20 million at least, right?
Crazy. I guess. Yeah. I mean, He just keeps scoring. He just keeps
scoring. He's incredibly smart. He's young. He has like generational physical attributes. He's 6'2", 220 playing forward. Like, come the fuck on, you know? So, yeah, I might be biased. I like Daryl a lot. I got to talk to him for a feature the other day. But, you know, whatever. Just casual. Another day in the life of Sam Jones, the protagonist of life. Anyway, that was Daryl DK talk. This is rapid fire. Ben Morales asks, are there any fringe players that we should keep our eyes on? Is Jake Mulroney going to be our Vela?
No on the second part, although Jake Mulroney is starting to turn my head a little bit. I will give you that. He was one I mentioned in the international slots, the player who could possibly be loaned, but I'm now starting to think that there's going to be green cards coming because he definitely seems very involved in what's going on. So yeah, I like the Jake Mulroney shout.
Yeah, I can't think of any really fringe players that we should really be keeping our eyes on. Keep your eyes on the main folks right now.
He's a fringe player who's in one of those attacking positions, who has an opportunity to really do something special.
Is Eric Lopez a fringe player? Yes or no?
No, hell no. He's a core piece.
Payson asks, do you think Josef goes 90 right from the start to the CCL? No,
definitely not.
I think we may be a month in before we really see Josef going a full 90, honestly. He just seems a little hesitant right now is my understanding of it. He may be so competitive, though, it'll be hard to pull him off, but they'll want to be very, very steady and careful with him. Kenny asks, first thing to know about Heinze's tactics, how does he want the team ideally to play? Joe, 3 words on this.
Yeah, we have talked about this quite a bit, but just press. High energy, 2017 Atlanta United.
Love it. Ryan Lee asks, which Atlanta United player do you think is the most lactose intolerant? I laughed at this question because I immediately went Emerson Hyndman.
I'm thinking Brad Guzan, although, that's probably a bad shout. I don't know why, but.
I want to dig into that later. Joel asks if Heinze teaches Velo to kick his granny and be good on the offensive side of the ball like he already is. What's the number Atlanta would want for him to move to Europe? Over under 10 million. So looking at folks like Brian Reynolds and Reggie Cannon who went to Boa Vista, that's really technically going to another Italian team, everything like that. Those numbers were around 6 million, around 7 million, around 8 million. I think Velo could maybe get there with the way the market is and with the way the MLS teams are, like you see with DK. I think the DK thing might be a turning point where MLS teams kind of sit back and say, this is our worth, because folks have been coming in because MLS players are a value buy. But now that MLS knows that their players are value buy, they can increase those prices a little bit more. So maybe George gets to 10. I say under, though.
That's why it's great. I mean, we talked about Daryl DK, but any MLS fan should have some sort of minimal investment in other players going for big money and then succeeding once they go over, because it's only going to raise the prices of all the players that are on your current team. So yeah, I think that if you can get 10 million for Bello, I think you've done really, really well. And then that means Bello's had a good season as well. So I think that's a good number.
Transfer Serenity asked, does Joe get a scouting stipend from the team for his football manager work, Joe?
I only accept in non-fungible tokens. So, but I haven't gotten any yet. There's been no communication between me and the team about
rapid fire. Wait, shit. Yes, no, yes. Joel already, no, yes. Joel, if Heinze gets Barco playing well, what's the number the club says he's yours? I don't know that we'll fully recoup the rumored 60 million, but 15. So that's like trigger that clause, that theoretical clause in his contract for the transfer. 50. If someone comes to 15, he's gone, right?
I think so. Yeah, for
God,
sure.
yes. If someone comes at 10, is he gone?
I'll say yes.
Ooh.
Actually, 10 after the season, yes. 10 mid-season, 15 mid-season, I think they would do that. 10 million mid-season, I don't think they would.
Nice. Battletoad asks, do I have to spend $20 a month for episodes that are just ASMR ad reads with Joe and Sam? Those are 50. And that was rapid fire. Whew. Stressful.
Sounds good. We need to make a new Patreon tier for ASMR.
For ASMR
audio
tier.
Content.
I think that's... No, I'm not going to make that joke. I'll make that joke off air. All right. Thank you all for listening as always. We appreciate y'all again. Go check out the Patreon. And Joe, any final thoughts for you?
Yeah, if you enjoy the Patreon, if you enjoy the show, there's nothing that helps build the show and grow the community here better than just go one-on-one to your buddy or a family member or something and be like, hey, check this out. That is how you actually connect with somebody and really grow the community instead of we appreciate any type of sharing whatsoever, social media and that kind of stuff, but just tell a friend, tell somebody you know about the show.
Beautiful. Go check out us. Joe is at JPatrick200 on Twitter. I'm at J_Sam Jones. I have a few things up and coming up on the mothership as well. Right now, today dropped a piece on MLS tattoos, which I think is really fun to kind of look through and go see those, especially the Celine Dion butt tattoo this guy has from Seattle. It's truly remarkable. I think you need to see it to really believe it. Other fun things coming as well. So go check that out, please, and thank you.
Yep. And more Alan Franco news, I'm sure, to come on Dirty South Soccer, whether it be good or bad.
Cross your fingers, folks. Cross your fingers. Good luck out there. Bye, y'all.